You're listening to Just My Show, your number one source for pop culture.
You know, people are always talking about the best sports movies of all times, but you don't see as many, lists about the best songs from sports of all time. And I'm thinking that's probably just because it's a really hard topic to write about. Do you think that's it?
Well, yeah, it's fairly exotic, and try not to come out too schmaltzy. And so it's a delicate dance to write about this. Yes, absolutely.
So I've read a lot of different versions, but give me the background of the song and where it came from.
Well, actually, I was playing in a folk club in East Lansing, Michigan, and the shorter version is I had this idea. Well, late at night after playing the gig, trying to explain to a beautiful waitress what was so great about Larry Bird, and she was not interested, but it gave me an idea. And then the next day I was waiting for a friend of mine to show up for lunch, and he showed up late, and I wrote the lyrics on a napkin and went home and banged it out in 20 minutes.
So are you a big sports fan in general?
Well, I would say I was and still am a bit of an athlete, and I'm a fan of sports, yes. I'm not a fanatic in the sense that I have to, go to every Lions game or whatever. But I'm certainly I grew up in a long line of athletes, and basketball is something I know a little bit about.
So who's your college team that you root for, or do you have to be a little PC about it now?
Well, no, I don't care. I'm a big fan of Duke, only because I think Mike Krzyzewski is the heir apparent to Johnny Wooden, and I'm a big fan of Johnny Wooden's, and there you go.
So do you get to the Final Four often these days?
I am going to take my family this year to Indianapolis to celebrate this being the 20th year of One Shining Moment being involved with this broadcast. And
I'm sure you've met a lot of players and coaches. What kind of reaction do you get from them about the song?
It is strangely humbling because they all seem to get what the song is about, and as they should. And so when I meet them, they're, "Oh, I love the song. Can I have your autograph?" kind of thing. I'm thinking, no, I want your autograph. So I would say it's fair to say that amongst the basketball community that there's a fair amount of understanding about the song.
There's obviously been a few different versions. I like yours the best, but do you have a favorite version?
Well, selfishly, I can say that. I think mine was the way I originally recorded it with the original idea. So I think that, to me, touches the bases that I wanted to touch. That's not to say that, Luther, of course, that was the last song he sang before he had a stroke. So he is a magnificent singer and did a great job, as did Teddy Pendergrass. But I think for me, the original is the original.
Yeah, I watch it every year, obviously, and they've changed it quite a bit. And I don't expect you to sit here and badmouth CBS, but now they have all the fancy graphics and things like that. Yeah, I don't think you need it. I wish they went back to your version and just showed the clips, because I think it's says it for itself. Would you like to see that, or do you like what they're doing now?
Well, I think again, I think the early days, I think when they discovered what they had, they didn't try and gild the lily. And but on the other hand, they're forced to go, we need to, keep it changing and interesting and malleable. So if you ask me which is my favorite, I think the early ones, when they concentrated more on the kids and what this is, are my favorites. That's not to say, that I shut them off now because they're doing other things with it. Not at all. But I would say, particularly, at the very beginning, they didn't try to gild the lily.
And you actually have a brand new book out. It's called One Shining Moment. Reach for the Sky. Now You Are Alive.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Well, it's a crazy world that we live in, and this outfit from this publisher from Nashville approached me last year about writing a song that might capture some of the things that we're talking about right now, and they felt as if this might be a message that worth telling. So they asked me to write, probably about 100 different stories, vignettes, prose, so forth, and they shaped this into a beautiful book. It really, I was happily surprised. I had no idea how it was going to turn out, but came out very nicely. And so it is essentially not just about basketball. It's about, doing the best you can and understanding that the whole idea here is to dream. As everybody you see in this Final Four, or even in the tournament, began as an 8-year-old boy, or for the girls' tournament, laying in bed going, one day. And then it goes from the dream into the preparation, which means that no matter what you think, all these kids shot 10,000 free throws, and got ready. And then, of course, when the third section is about the moment, when the moment arrives, and are you prepared or not? And then, if you're lucky, then you take wings. And so this whole tournament is about that.
And you've written several other sports themes for a bunch of different sports. Tell us where else we might have heard your music.
Well, I've written certainly for the Olympics, and I've written for CBS a number of their themes, that being the U.S. Tennis Open theme and the PGA theme and the PGA Championship theme. And oh heavens, I just finished a score for PBS here recently on a guy named Henry Wallace, and I'm working on one now with a score for Arlington Cemetery, which I'm really excited about. So, I get asked to write in so many different areas that, I just write music. That's what I do.
And you won an Emmy. That's pretty cool, right?
A couple of them now, yeah.
For more, go to www.justmyshow.com.